So hello everyone, it was wonderful to have that little bit of time to work with you, get to speak directly with some of you and at least smile with the rest of you. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And I thought I'd just put together a short video just as a quick recap, to sort of grab some of those really salient points for you that might be useful when you go back to your workplaces and continue working on this. So really what we talked about was this overall design thinking and customer journey toolkit. I talked to you a little bit about the world's best wallet and a process that is a way of getting people engaged, making them think outside the way that they typically think, and also build some camaraderie. I know that you explored customer jobs to be done with others in the workshop. Empathy mapping is specifically what we focused on here, and you worked with Felicia on service blueprinting, and then I suggested that all of this might go together into a business model or your strategy canvas or whatever the tool is that you actually use for the bigger picture in your organization. And of course, a reminder that design thinking not only is a design process, but it really is a part of culture, and it's important, if this works for you, to start inculcating the design thinking model into your culture overall. And I did particularly mention strategy. It's a wonderful way to actually create and embed strategy and strategic thinking and get things done. We talked very briefly about the design principles, and in particular we focused on visualization and obviously the idea of empathic curiosity that we played with there. I told you a very brief wallet story, so an outcome of, very powerful. What I didn't share with you was the empathy map that we did with these folks. It was absolutely amazing. So, cold calling service people, service agents who have to go into a very particular circumstance and do some literally, cold contacts. And we actually used empathy mapping processes after we'd been through this particular exercise, and how powerful that was, and the insights that came from that. A couple of things that were a reminder out of the wallet exercise, or a couple of things in particular that I highlighted. The idea of making mental notes when you're asking these sense and probe questions about whatever the context is. We talked about a wallet, but whatever the investigation situation, this sort of exploratory model that that I know Gwen was encouraging you to do. And the idea of building hunches. So this isn't asking people direct questions about, would you do this? This is, I really thought about, I noticed, this is an insight that I had. And asking those sort of reflective questions for people can actually tell you more and give them an opportunity to share those deeper thoughts. You played with the customer jobs to be done, the journey mapping approach, I do know. And I'm particularly interested when I work with this on the motivational goals and these social and emotive goals that are buried deeply in people's psyche when they're actually trying to achieve something. Value map, the concept of the give, the offer, and the get, and the idea that of thinking using a tilde sign to as much as possible that this is equivalent. So often as providers, we're so focused on this, we worry about this, we spend an enormous amount of energy here, but what we really want to be doing is over here looking this way, and of course being aware of the capability to actually deliver that. And I also talked about the double nature of the jobs to be done. So not only is it what the user actually wants to achieve, but help them be the best kind of customer that they can possibly be, using the design process, and service blueprinting is an ideal tool to do that. I love the concept of always talking about a stakeholder landscape. It reminds us about the complexity. We might be focused on a very specific customer, but there's an awful lot else that goes on around us as we do this. So the empathy mapping process really was to be thoughtful about who it is that we're working with. Ideally we do 3. It gives us a lot of complexity. It might be core customer number 1, core customer number 2, service agents number 3 might be a great way to do that. And what we really want to be doing here is, a persona can come later, but here we want to be thinking about, in this instance, this person or group or team that we're naming here, what are they thinking and feeling? What are they hearing around them? What are they seeing around them? What are they saying and doing in this context? What's their pain and what's their gain? Interestingly, I had another one this afternoon, and it really was, the focus of the group was, what is wow? And so we actually, for the people in the room, everyone personally and on their own and silently created what wow means to them, because we were working on a service experience that was lacking wow moments. So we thought, I thought, I'll be blunt here, like people talk about creating wow, but what actually is wow? So we had 20 versions of wow to work with, like what wow actually feels like to individuals, and it was fascinating. So, think and feel, and remember you can change the name of this. Empathy mapping might mean something to some people, but customer exploration or customer centricity or understanding customers, or name it what you need to name it. I spoke to you about a bus driver example. So many things that bus drivers actually have to do and have to think about, that hypervigilance that bus drivers actually have. So much more goes on, and the pains and the potential gains that are in that circumstance. Just by the way, we also did another activity for designing a dog park. Wow, that was fascinating, the things you can do. And of course, being creative, we actually did an empathy map of dogs, as you would. Service blueprinting, I briefly talked about this particular example only to suggest there are different ways to do it, and then you can see that the dots that are the ways that we actually did these, moments of truth, external pain, internal pain, and opportunities to improve in that circumstance. And then ultimately, some kind of visual, I like the visual approach, this visual communication approach that you can actually have here. Remember that we have our value proposition in the middle, so there are many things that can feed into this. I love this kind of approach because we have inputs here, and we have, dealing with like the actual outcome and delivery on this side, and then we have this connecting piece in the middle, the value proposition. And I always like to focus on that give and get. We want to be really clear here that we have the capability to deliver it, and at the same time what we're actually offering is really what a consumer over here wants. And of course you can make much more structured cost and outcome over here. It doesn't have to be a linear left to right process. I'm a marketing professor, so clearly, here and here are where we start, and then you actually make decisions about the nature of the offering, and then we actually want to go in exploring internally. Do we have the resources to deliver this? Do we know how we're actually going to put this together? What partners do we need? What's the nature of the relationship that we have with these partners who are actually going to be doing this? And of course, another way to to use a canvas like this is, what would happen if one of your key partners suddenly became a competitor? What does this mean? Or what happens if, our key resource that we have in an organization goes? Or what happens if our customer perceptions change and they want something different? So it really can be used almost in a scenario thinking kind of way. And then we sent you off to actually do this. We got you to identify specific groups of stakeholders. It was lovely that you actually got to work with folks from different organizations. It really made you think very broadly. And I do want to thank the people who actually reported back. You did a wonderful job, and I really appreciated that. I thought it was really powerful. And then you had a fairly short, sharp amount of time to actually work on this. Thank you. And you came back and gave us those insights. I thought that was really very nice. Now, if you're going to do this in your own workplace, the thing that I do encourage you to do is have a longer than 45-minute session, of course. We were giving you some tools today. Encourage people to take their time. I love people to do these individually first, and I insist on silence. There's something incredibly powerful about the sound of silence in a room as people get into that contemplative state, and then put them into groups so that they can actually share and have these conversations. It's so powerful. People often get lost down here. I try to keep what I call above the line. Let's just stay on the experiential element of it, and then we're actually going to, as a separate part of it, actually start playing with these pains and gains back here. Clearly then you're looking for insights, etc. So I do want to thank you very much, and that was just a quick journey and a quick reminder of what it was that we set out to achieve. And I wish you the very best, and I do want to thank the whole Centre for Service Leadership team, extraordinary folks always wonderful to work with you. And of course, you know, I'm a professor at Arizona State as well. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your experience, and hope that you use these tools.